So good afternoon. It's an honor to welcome State Councillor Dao Aung San Suu Kyi to Stockholm and to Sweden. It is an important landmark for our two countries and this bilateral relation that we have between Myanmar and Sweden. Myanmar has taken some very important steps in the journey towards democracy. The country has a history of conflict and military rule, and we are conscious about the fact that changing old structures also take time. But having said that, we welcome and support the progress that has been made. During our talks today, we have discussed how we can broaden and deepen our relations, and I reaffirmed the Swedish government's continued commitment to the support of the people of Myanmar. One of the issues that we did discuss is education and the importance of a proper education and the importance of having a right gender balance also in education. And we see that as one of the fields in which we can develop our cooperation. And we have also said that Sweden will decide upon a new 5-year development cooperation strategy to be adopted later this year. And we have talked about remaining challenges also, of course, in Myanmar, and I have raised concerns about the situation in Rakhine State. We have discussed the importance of addressing the root causes of the conflicts and the need for interfaith dialogue to curb hate speech. Also, accountability for human rights violations was also mentioned. Most importantly, we have spoken about how we can cooperate and support the continued transition to a democratic, peaceful and prosperous Myanmar. In this context, we have also talked about the possibility of extending trade between our countries. We also discussed the importance of having a good social dialogue in the society, a dialogue also between employers, employees and the society. And therefore, I also invited Dao Aung San Suu Kyi to the Global Deal initiative that I launched last autumn. So I look forward to hear that answer later. Let me also mention that Dao Aung San Suu Kyi this evening will formally receive the Olof Palme International Prize, which she was awarded already in 2005. In recognition of her, and I quote, outstanding example of the efforts to attain democracy to the people of Burma, end of quote. It has been a great pleasure, Excellency, to meet you here and to receive you, and I'm very happy that our two countries have this good relationship and that we can deepen our relation further. Please, Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you for welcoming us to Sweden. It's my very first visit to this country, and of course, I'm always interested to find out how countries like Sweden have managed to maintain peace for 150 years and more. Because peace is something we have not yet achieved in our country. Since the very first day that we became independent, back in January, the 4th of January 1948, there has been internal conflict, and we have been trying to resolve that for now nearly 70 years. Last year, we started the Union Peace Conference, and we held the second meeting this year. We made some progress, but we know that there's still much that we have to do, and we are prepared to do it. We never thought that the road to democracy and peace would be an easy one. And it's not always good to find out that you're right, but we were absolutely right. It's not an easy one. But we are all committed to peace, and we're all committed to a truly democratic society where everybody's rights are protected, not just by the law, but by the culture. Legislation to protect people's rights is easy. But creating a culture where people can live in harmony and learn to resolve their differences through negotiation and through compromise and through engaging with each other is far more difficult. And this is the challenge that we are facing. We are trying to establish a new culture, a culture of democracy and a culture of liberalism, balanced in such a way that we can ensure that our people are secure as well as free. This is the biggest challenge that we are facing at the moment, together with an almost equally big challenge of sustainable development. Our country, which at one time was considered the most progressive in Southeast Asia, is now one of the poorest in the region. We are poor because the basic needs of our people, health and education, have been badly neglected for so long. In order to make sure that we achieve sustainable development, we have to improve education and we have to improve the health of our people. And this is what we have been working at. And through education also, we hope to build up greater understanding and harmony between the different communities and ethnic groups that exist in our country. I think few people are aware that we have over 130 ethnic groups in our country. And at the moment, in our peace process, more than 15 groups are involved officially. There are, of course, unofficially many other small ethnic groups as well. So the challenge is how to create unity out of diversity and how to make everyone understand that diversity is not a threat, it's not a danger, but it could be a strength depending on how we approach it. And I think Sweden has been a very homogeneous society until recent years, so I do not think your experiences are quite the same as ours, but still I think we can always learn from different cultures, from different traditions, and from the different experiences of peoples from all over the world, because in the end, basically, all our human needs are the same. I do not know about other countries, but I think in our country, what most people want is peace. We are tired of conflict. We are tired of always being at loggerheads with each other. We want to settle down to a boringly secure existence. And I think in perhaps Sweden, where you have been secure for so long, that might sound not very enticing. But for us, this is a goal towards which we want to work very assiduously, and we know that it'll take us a long time, and that perhaps, in a sense, you never finally achieve that goal. You're always working towards trying to establish the right kind of balance in a country like ours, where there are so very, very many different elements, and where we have a very challenging legacy of many mistakes. But it is no use crying over water that has been spilled in the past, milk that has been spilled in the past. We have to go forward to the future and try to make the best of it by learning from our experiences. And I hope that in doing this, we will have the support and understanding of friends from all over the world. The Prime Minister mentioned the Global Deal, which is an initiative that interests me very greatly, because establishing the right kind of relationship between business, government, and labor is most important for sustainable development in the world today. And we have a very young labor movement. It's as young as our democracy, which is just over a year old, I could say. And our business community is also just beginning to take wing. And of course, the government will always have to play the role of making sure that labor and business relations are in keeping with the economic as well as social needs of the country. So we are very interested in this initiative, and we hope to be able to cooperate on this increasingly in the near future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd like to ask the State Secretary about the alleged human rights abuses against the Rohingya minority committed by the military last year. I understand that there's a domestic investigation into this, and that Kofi Annan is looking at a long-term solution for the region. But the United Nations HCR has also appointed a commission, a fact-finding commission. Now, could you explain why it is that you reject that mission? Why are you not prepared to accept a fact-finding mission from the UNHCR?
There are several reasons. First of all, as you mentioned, we already have our own fact-finding commission, as well as Dr. Kofi Annan's commission, which was established back in around July last year. And Dr. Kofi Annan's commission, in our opinion, was doing the work that was their mandate very, very well and very fairly. And we thought, and this was, even that was not totally acceptable to all the members of the communities in Rakhine. And a fact-finding mission appointed by the United Nations would not have helped the situation. It would have created greater hostility between the different communities. So the reason why we dissociated ourselves from the resolution that appointed the fact-finding mission was because we did not feel it was in keeping with the needs of the region in which we are trying to establish harmony and understanding, and to remove the fears that have kept the two communities apart for so long. I think you are probably aware of the fact that Dr. Kofi's commission submitted an interim report recently and made a number of recommendations which we feel are very much in keeping with what we need to bring peace and harmony to that area. And we've been implementing these recommendations as quickly as possible and making good progress. According to the Commission, we've been making good progress, but we'll have to wait for the final report, which will come out, I believe, around mid-August.
But there's some concern that the mandate for Kofi Annan's mission doesn't cover these human rights abuses, and that the internal investigation may not be independent, given that it's run by I think the former head of the police intelligence organisation and the military intelligence organisation.
He's the chair of the commission was not a former head of the military, and he's a retired military officer. That's true, but he was not the head of the military intelligence at all. So, I mean, there are a number of misunderstandings about the whole thing, and I think we should really give the Commission a chance to show whether or not they have done their work properly, instead of condemning from the beginning. And I have a much, much greater opinion of Dr. Kofi Annan's commission than some seem to have. I think they have really gone to the root of the problems in the Rakhine, and that is what we want. We want to get to the root of the problems that we may truly bring about reform there.
Madam State Councillor, Bengt Norborg, Swedish Television. I think we all know that Myanmar and you have 1,001 problems to deal with today, but what are you doing concretely about the persecution and to end life in the camps for the Rohingyas?
We have a number of IDP camps all over the country, not just in Rakhine. We have started shutting down a number of IDP camps, as recommended by Dr. Kofi Annan. We're going through it very systematically. I don't know whether you've been keeping up with that. And what do we do with IDP camps? We try to close them down as quickly as possible and return the people to their homes. And I think I must mention that there are many more IDP camps in other parts of the country as well, as a result of conflict, as well as a result of natural disasters.
Are you closing down Rohingya camps also?
All there are IDP camps. In fact, I think there are more IDP camps have been closed down in the Rakhine area than in the other parts of the country, because Dr. Kofi Annan has specifically asked us to try to put more effort into it, and since the international interest seems to be focused in that area rather than in other parts of Burma, although there are more IDP camps there, we are certainly giving full attention to that issue.
David Keaton from the Associated Press, good afternoon. You are today in the land of the Nobel institutions. Regarding the alleged human rights abuses, there has been quite a bit of criticism at yourself personally for the role that, or for maybe the silence that you have held at some stage. How do you feel today regarding this Nobel Prize as an actual lawmaker today? Do you feel that the Nobel Prize that you have can sometimes be an actual burden to lawmaking and to driving forward the peace process as it is today?
No, I do not quite know what the Nobel Prize has to do with lawmaking in my country. I think it's a legislature that makes the laws in our country, by the way. The government doesn't make the laws. So it's up to the legislature to decide what laws to make. And I do not quite see exactly what my Nobel Prize has to do with what the legislature does. I'm no longer a member, but
in your country as a Nobel Prize laureate, do you feel that that prize burden to the actual current attempts to achieve peace in the country today?
No, why should it? I thought the Nobel Prize was in favor of peace, isn't it? And we're trying to achieve peace. So I really don't see why we should look upon it.
Against you now for the lack of speaking up against the alleged human rights abuses.
It's not that. It's because I do not speak up for one particular community. I think people forget that the Rakhine themselves are a minority. There are fewer Rakhine in the whole country than Muslims. So we have to keep the balance between being fair to both communities. So I don't think we see the Nobel Prize as something that's holding us back from the peace process.
Last question for the Swedish radio.
Madam, how would you describe the situation of getting peace with the ethnic groups in the eastern part of the country?
Difficult. As I said, this is a long-running conflicts. There are several conflicts. They've been going on for 70 years altogether. Next January, when we celebrate the 70th anniversary of our independence, and we have achieved some progress. As I said, we managed to sign a national accord last month at our second meeting. But I suppose there will be reverses. That's what happens in peace processes. You go back a little, you go forward. You go back a bit, you keep going forward, you keep persisting. But I'm confident that we'll achieve peace for the simple reason that the great majority of our people want peace. They're tired of conflict. They want to live in a land that is at peace, and they want to get on with their lives like normal people, not always in fear of fighting erupting somewhere near them.
Could you describe this? It's a long way to get this peace.
I think getting to peace requires time. I hope we won't have to take too much time, and that now that we've started getting together, we will be able to keep the unifying factor stronger than the divisive ones. But we try.